And so what we're going to be doing in this episode, in the words of Missy Elliott, we're going to flip it and reverse it. We're going to talk about how a lot of times the reason that we're unhappy is because we just let things happen to us. Things just happen by default, and we really don't design our lives, practically speaking, for happiness.
I'm Rhett.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're the house dads. Because we're dads who sell houses.
But we're also husbands, business owners, sports freaks, Christians,
Friends, marketing nerds, TV show bingers, and so many more things.
Like so many of you, we're just trying to do it all. We're trying to do it well.
And that's what we're here to talk about. What is going on, everybody? We are on episode 21. We made it. We're legal.
That's pretty good.
We're growing up.
House dads and adults.
House dads and adults. So we thank you so much for tuning in. We're excited, as always, to share with you what we got. But first and foremost, we want to give you the call to action in the beginning. All right. We do want to ask a favor of you. We put a lot of work. I say we. Cameraman Cam puts a lot of work into these cameras so we can look good. We got a cool set. We're on YouTube. So we really, we just ask that you go and subscribe. That's the first step.
Right.
You can watch too. We love that. But we want you to subscribe and help us grow the channel.
Yes, absolutely. That would be a major help to us. But thanks again for tuning in. We got a good one for you today. We're going to be talking about something that it popped up on my Facebook this past weekend, and I sent it to Rhett, and I was like, bro, this would be a great topic for the episode, the next episode. And so it was a little bit of it was a Facebook image. We'll put it up there later for you to see if you're watching. If you're driving, don't look at it. Just listen to us.
Just listen.
Yeah, but James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, he kind of had this list of practical things that we do to make us unhappy. And so what we're going to be doing in this episode, in the words of Missy Elliott, we're going to flip it and reverse it.
Missy Elliott.
Yeah, so we're going to flip it and reverse it. And
shout out.
We're going to talk about how a lot of times the reason that we're unhappy is because we just let things happen to us. Things just happen by default, and we really don't design our lives, practically speaking, for happiness. Yeah. And happiness, it is circumstantial. Like things happen to you that you can't control, and so there's going to be plenty of things that happen that make you unhappy, and you have no say-so about it. But there are some things that we are in control of, and happiness and joy are two separate discussions. We're not going to really be talking about joy today.
Right.
Joy, for me personally, my joy comes from the Lord. Yeah. Right.
A little deeper.
It's the same for you. Yeah, it's a little deeper thing. We're going to be talking about really practically, like even though we have that joy from the Lord, we still want to be happy.
Yeah.
Still want to practice happiness, if you will. We still want to seek out happiness. And so we're going to look for that, and we're going to talk about some practical things to do today.
Yeah, it takes work to be happy.
Right.
It takes some pretty practical things. So you may have been a little intrigued with our title, How to Be Unhappy.
That's right.
So if you want to learn how to be unhappy, just do the opposite of what we're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're like Missy says, flipping.
Have you read any of James Clear's stuff?
Yes. So I am in the middle right now of reading Atomic Habits.
Yeah,
I say middle. I'm probably like fourth of the way in.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, it's not a quick read.
No.
Like every page is just a punch in the face of just like these nuggets of information. But man, I'm really enjoying it so far.
It's not one that I think you can audiobook.
No.
Like you really need to read.
And if you do, you really got to be intentional and listening and maybe even taking notes while you listen. But yeah, so the premise of it, of course, is you set these habits in place to give you freedom, right? But a lot of premise, or I guess even more bare bones, is like you got to be happy. You got to set the foundation in order to create the habits to fuel what you're shooting for.
Exactly.
But, just a quick takeaway, which doesn't even have a lot to do with being happy or unhappy, is not being goal focused.
Right.
Because when you're focused on the goal, you're only allowing yourself to be happy if and when you hit it.
That's a great point. It does apply.
Yeah, it does apply.
It really does,
but to be happy and like fall in love with the process of reaching that goal.
Exactly.
That's kind of where I'm at right now.
You get so obsessed with the goal.
Yeah, not to be obsessed with the goal, but really focus on what you're doing practically for the process to achieve that goal.
That's good. Yeah, so we're not really be talking about specifically Atomic Habits today. Maybe something that we could do.
We'll finish it or something.
Once Rhett gets through with it, a couple months or something. No, I'm kidding. We'll get into that more, but if you haven't picked up that book, it's definitely worth picking up. But let's go ahead, and we'll put it up on the screen now. I'm going to read to you this list of how to be unhappy. Okay, so how to be unhappy. Make sure you're getting this. This isn't our advice. We're going to go into it in more detail in a minute.
Hit it.
How to be unhappy. Stay inside all day. Move as little as possible. Spend more than you earn. Take yourself and life too seriously. look for reasons why things won't work, always consume and never contribute, resent the lucky and successful, never say hello first, and last but not least, be unreliable.
Hits a lot of points.
It
It's
does.
like well-rounded. It's not just like one aspect of life.
Exactly.
It's a lot
Yeah,
of
it's a whole lot of different stuff. And so what we were thinking is, okay, if these are things that practically lead to you being unhappy, wouldn't the opposite help us to live happier lives?
Yep.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take each one, kind of go in a little bit more detail. The first one, the opposite of it, and what we would recommend to be happy is you get outside and do something.
Yeah.
And it sounds silly.
Sounds
but
cheesy. I
Yeah,
got to go
but
outside. I
it's-
don't like the sun.
I know, right? You remind me of the guy at bench warmers. The sunburn, you
Yeah.
can't get out in the sun. But anyway, no, like nothing drains me more than being inside all day. Like an office day where you're stuck inside, you can't get outside, whatever it is, it drains me. And a few weeks back, I was sick and kind of stayed inside all day. It was one of the, like, really bad going around the house and stuff. And finally, the boys talked me into going outside. I sound like an old man, dude, but
You
it
do.
was just a bad day.
Yeah.
But I finally went outside, sat on the back porch with them, and like I sat there for a minute, and like I felt the sun, and I felt it just kind of soaking into my body, and just like totally felt my mood and
Yeah.
physically how it started to make me feel better. And we like to give a little science for you, and so I did a little research on that. And so when the sun hits your skin, your brain is triggered to release serotonin. It's a hormone.
Shout out serotonin.
Yeah, shout out serotonin. Sponsor us. Serotonin, it's associated with boosting your mood and helping you feel calm and focused.
Yeah.
And so it's got science behind this too. And then also too, not only are you going to get a tan when you get out there and get the sun, you can make yourself feel better because that UV light, it produces something called, I'm going to butcher this, melanocytes.
Shout out melanocytes.
Yeah, and melanin, I know that has to do with skin. So I think I said that right. Melanocytes, the cells that produce dark pigment in your skin, they actually reduce endorphins as well, which is the feel-good chemical. So there's science behind the fact that to make yourself feel better, to make yourself happier, get outside and do something.
Yeah, I already knew all this, man.
I know.
So.
Okay, well, we'll hang it up. But anyway,
Kidding, though.
every morning,
Makes sense.
practically, and it's not even always going all the way outside, but every morning when I get up and I go do my quiet time, like everybody's asleep, so I turn the lights off, or the lights are off, but one of the things I do is just open the blinds, and the sun directly comes in that window, and I sit there and I do my quiet time, and that sun, like just kind of gets me going. It starts to release that serotonin, release those endorphins to get my day started the right way.
Yeah.
So it's a big one. It's important. Get outside and do something.
We're in an office right now, a temporary office, and there's no windows in it.
There you
and
go.
I'm like, man, I can't stay more than 2 hours, if that, in there without I got to just walk in the hallway where there's some sun. You know?
Exactly.
Just even seeing it makes me feel better.
Yeah, you can
So
see exactly. Just like that, it affects your mood
I believe it 100%.
massively.
Number 2, the opposite was move as little as possible. Move your body.
There you go.
You should move your
Shake.
body. And there's countless studies. And we've talked about exercise a lot of episodes, right?
Right.
But when you move your body, it significantly improves your mental health, right? And I'm not talking about you don't have to go run a marathon.
Right.
You don't have to go run a half marathon.
Right.
Even something as simple as taking a walk outside.
Exactly.
Shout out outside again.
Yeah.
But it's not, again, specifically working out, lifting weights, cardio. It's just using your body that actually helps and improve your brain function.
Exactly.
Right?
Just doing something physically actually improves you on the inside too. And I was talking to you about this before because I was in your neighborhood last Tuesday. Had a long day at work. Asked Courtney if I could come home a little later. And I had a few commercial signs to install on some of our properties. I was like, man, I just want to get outside, move my body. There was something about working with my hands.
Yeah.
And sometimes in our job, and sometimes maybe in your job, you can be stuck in an office, or you're pushing paper, or you're really doing a lot of mental work. So there's something about moving your hands.
Yep.
Putting your hands to something, like getting out in the yard and cutting grass. That's why those kinds of things can be therapeutic, because you're moving your body. And I think it's a great point. Not for everybody. You're not going to the gym, bench pressing, doing deadlifts like Rhett. That may not be you.
Trying.
It may just be, just getting outside for a walk.
Yeah.
Spending time with your family, spending time with your kids, moving your body. Man, one of the things that they do here at church is every Sunday afternoon. I didn't know it was this big of a deal, but It's actually on ESPN now. Pickleball, man.
Yeah, it's
You ever played
becoming.
pickleball?
I've never played it, but
Me
it's
either.
like the fastest growing
Yeah.
white person sport.
Exactly, 100%. Well, you go over here, they kind of turned into our outreach center into a pickleball court.
Nice.
And I'm telling you, they got like some of our college students playing against their grandmothers, literally, and
Yeah.
their grandmothers will smoke them.
Yeah.
But man, they're having the best
That's
time
why a lot of
moving
people-
their body, doing things.
It's so open to everybody. That's why a lot of
Yes.
people like it. All
Yes.
ages. So, but
There's
yes,
no excuse.
moving your body is clutch. And I like to, like, you know, we talked about starting our day, a morning routine. Like doing it in the morning is pretty
Yes.
clutch as well.
That's right.
If you're going to be strategic with moving.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Yeah. Well, good. That's a good one. The next one is, and I mean, it sounds self-explanatory, but it's pretty hard to be happy unless you're making wise financial decisions. So next one, we got to make wise financial decisions. And again, I know it sounds obvious, but the first couple of years of Courtney and I being married, man, I made some really poor financial decisions. Like I'll never forget, man. You know, just a word to the wise. Don't ever buy technology as soon as it comes out because it's always the most expensive. Right?
Yeah.
I'll never forget Courtney and I went to H.H. Gregg, no longer here.
Okay,
It was out at the
shout
mall
out.
in Louisiana, right? So we go out there and I don't know, we were just at the mall and I ended up finding my way in there and started looking at the rows of TVs.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I'm obsessed with the big TV.
Uh-huh.
I want a big TV. And so we had only been married for a short period of time. Real estate business just kind of started getting and going. And I just saw this TV. And I had never seen as
How
clear a
big?
picture. It's a 65.
Okay.
And this is 2014.
Yeah.
65 in 2014, and it was when 4K just came out.
Gotcha, with
Right? So it's a
4K.
Samsung 4K. I'm watching it. I feel like the things are like popping out at me.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, could you imagine in my little apartment wall?
Yeah.
It'll take up the whole wall.
Uh-huh.
It'll be perfect. And so it was $2,700.
Holy smokes.
$2,700. Now you can go to Walmart and buy an 85-inch for like $400.
Yeah, they've definitely
Yeah.
reduced in price.
That's the
lately.
one thing that's come down in price. But I remember buying that, right? And I didn't have cash for it. They talked me into the, 24 months
Yeah.
interest refinancing. So I paid monthly on a $2,700 TV. I still have that TV to this day.
There you go. You were
You know?
wise.
So I still have that TV to this day, but I bought something that I really couldn't afford because
Yeah.
I didn't have the cash for it at that point. Sorry, Dave Ramsey. I do have credit cards.
Yeah.
But I don't spend anything on a credit card that I couldn't
you
pay
don't have.
cash for.
Yeah.
Right. And so, the first couple of years of the marriage, man, I was trying to have what my parents had that they spent 30 and 40 years working for.
Yeah.
Kind of a catching up with playing with or trying to be like the Joneses,
Yeah.
that kind of deal.
Uh-huh.
And one thing I think I didn't figure out is even when I was young and I didn't really have money or a job or anything, I was never really good at managing my money.
No.
And I thought that if I just made more of it, my money problems would go away.
Yeah.
But all it did was just amplify my money problems.
Mhm.
And so I had to really get that in lock my first couple of years of marriage. And I learned lessons the hard way. But you have to make wise financial decisions. There's no greater stress than going to bed at night with all the debt, with all the things that you've accumulated because you just didn't live within your means.
Yeah. And I think there's a difference too. I'm really good at planning and setting the budget.
Sure.
Am I good at implementing and following
Right,
it? No.
sticking through it.
No.
Yeah.
That's where I struggle.
That's
Stressful days, like, hey, we don't have the budget for eating out. I'm stressed. I don't want to cook. Let's
Yeah,
just
let's
go.
just go.
Let's go out to eat.
Yeah.
And then every night, I'm like, okay, I'm not being the wisest with
That's
our
right.
money. That's
That's
still
right.
today. But yeah, back then, when you're young, naive, even when money starts coming in, I remember real estate wise, when your first year you start doing well, you don't really think, or no one really tells you about taxes.
Taxes.
You're like, oh wow,
Good
this is
Lord.
awesome. And then you get hit with that tax bill. I remember selling our first house. We bought it as a foreclosure. We were making a pretty good chunk from it when we sold. All of it went to taxes. I'm like, well, I'm glad I had this house
Exactly.
to sell.
Good thing I had it.
Like it bailed me out. But yeah, man, you gotta be wise.
I paid on my first tax bill for a year and a half. So that's how bad it was for me. Didn't even have that plan.
That's what we
So,
need. Hot topic, but we need more in school. We need to tell.
100%.
We need to learn how to do taxes.
Exactly.
Not the mitochondria. It's the
Exactly.
powerhouse of the cell.
Do know that?
I did use that the other day. I
Shout
needed
out
to know
mitochondria.
all the parts of a cell.
Well, good.
Kidding, I did not. I've never once needed to know that.
No, never.
But yeah, that's number 3. Number 4, something I love to do, man.
Yeah.
Have fun and don't take life too seriously.
Yeah.
I just find such joy in like Granted, I choose some wrong times to make jokes, but know the room. But man, just don't take life so seriously. Don't be
Exactly.
so stuck up.
Yeah.
You got to make room in your life and schedule things also that are
Right.
fun.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm a routine guy. You are,
Yep.
I'm sure. We got our goals. We want to hit them.
Right.
But man, if we're just like obsessing over it, you know, you got to find some time to let off some steam, have some
Exactly.
fun. You know,
Yeah, you got to make time for it, man. I think it's easier said than done, but like we worry about a lot of things
Yeah.
that are just in the scope of eternity, really in the scope of the next 5 years.
Yeah.
In the next year, probably not going to even matter.
No.
So we got to ask ourselves, like, is this going to matter
Right.
in 5 years from now? Is this going to matter a year from now? And that helps us to not take life so seriously.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things my pastor used to say, or what he said before, is that a lot of the things that we worry about never even happen.
Mhm.
And if they do, they are a lot less
Yeah.
than we ever even
They're not what you
expected.
think.
Or if they're just as bad or even worse, we end up getting through it
It's
anyway.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I believe God made me for my wife because she is a
Same.
worrier. I know, Brandy, I love you. She worries.
Shout out, Brandy.
She's kind of a worst case scenario thinker sometimes, and she can let her brain run different ways. And I have to remind her, hey, it's okay. It's not worth worrying about. Most of the things we've ever worried about have not come to fruition.
Yeah.
But even if they do,
Yeah.
it's okay.
My
We got
favorite
this.
thing, and I might put you in the doghouse about this, is
Uh-huh.
when you tell me about the links that Brandy sends you about, like, hey, did you know if eating this, like
She's-
they found glass in
She
this?
sent me one the other day that said my AirPods were going to give me cancer. I
Yeah,
think
it's
I was
just
like,
microwaving your
crap,
brain
I
in
can't,
between there.
I can't do anything. But yeah, she takes care of us. She often tells me,
That's right.
you know, and I need to be more aware of things. But
Right.
she keeps me in check. But yeah, we need to
Balance.
find time to have fun, not take life too. I love it when I'm doing transactions. I'm doing a transaction now with another agent who I'm friends with. So their TC reached out, and I like to pick jokes and tell him like, well, he's he's the worst, or like make fun of him and just go back
I
and forth.
love
We're
it.
in the middle of a real estate transaction,
Exactly.
but you got to find
Keep it
time to
light.
have some fun.
Yeah,
clutch.
absolutely. And you know what? That's attractive too. Like that, if you're just all so serious and so stoic and never like to have fun, like people want to have fun.
Yeah.
And so you give that off to other people, and people want to be a part
Mm-hmm.
of that too. So that's an important one. The next one, just equally as important, is to have an optimistic outlook on life. A lot of these are going to be self-explanatory and easier said than done. So, you know, when we think about like having an optimistic outlook on life, we always talk about like glass half full or glass half
Yeah.
empty. You know, I heard it said, somebody said that there's no such thing as problems, just opportunities. I don't know if I agree with that altogether. There's some real problems in life.
Yeah, there's definitely problems, but I get
And
it.
those problems can really affect your happiness.
Mhm.
But a lot of our happiness does depend on how we respond to those things that
Yeah.
do happen to us.
Absolutely.
And so we have a choice to make. Are we going to look at them half full or half empty?
Mhm.
And so choosing to have an optimistic outlook, it's not unrealistic.
Right.
It's most of the time it's 50-50 either way.
Yeah.
So why choose to be negative when it's just as likely it could have a positive outcome too?
And I've heard many different quotes about it, but like, you know, the premise is you're only losing if you allow yourself to quit. Like if you
That's
learn
good.
something from it and you move forward, you won. Like your
Exactly.
loss turned into a win. So it's only a loss if you say, I quit,
That's right.
you know?
That's good. Yep.
Moving along, number 6, give more than you take. Give more than you
That's good.
take. So, of course, being selfless
Yeah.
is something to keep in mind. So, you know, in my area or a lot of the areas of my life, I feel like I'm lacking. When I give, I actually end up receiving more than I thought. I was
Right.
actually listening to a podcast this morning where it
Yeah.
says, hey, when we focus on in our business, if we focus on ourselves, you know, we may hit success for a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's going to catch up to us.
Yeah.
But if we keep servicing people in mind as the forefront, and not to say in a selfish way we'll get something in return, but like it just inevitably happens.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki,
My dude.
Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah.
he says if you help enough people get what they want, then they'll have everything that you want. Then you'll have everything.
have
Sorry,
everything
I'll read
you
that
want.
again.
Gotcha.
If you help enough people get what they want, then you'll have everything that you want. So servicing people, putting them first is
Right.
clutch.
Right. It's not always about just getting what you want, but it's like there's something about it. It puts your mind in proper perspective when you serve and you bless other people and stuff. It kind of just it gives you a new perspective.
Yeah.
It kind of brings you back to reality. Kind of humbles you a little bit.
Yeah. Having a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, we're of course going into the sharing conversations.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of
And
fun.
my 5-year-old loves to say, anytime my 3-year-old picks up anything, that's mine, that's mine. And I just remind her like, hey, first of all, it's mine
Yeah.
because I paid for
Right,
it.
right.
But I am sharing with you. You need to share with her.
Yeah.
We don't need to like worrying about all these toys we can hoard.
Right.
Of course, she knows. She interprets that so well.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, it's just a constant reminder. But practically for us too. We don't need to worry about hoarding anything.
Sometimes, man, I'm with you. Like, I tell my boys something, and I'm like, as soon as I say that, I'm like, you don't even know what that word means. Like hoard, or like, I'll be like, you just got to be more grateful or something. And they're like, well, what is that? Anyway. But it's so true is that, we kind of end up just keeping all our possessions and things to ourselves. And it's, man, when we're giving, there's no better blessing to other people, and it ends up blessing us.
For sure.
Next one is super important, and this is a major key to happiness, and it's to avoid comparison.
Mm-hmm.
The way to be unhappy about this one was to resent the successful and the lucky.
Yeah.
It's so easy for us to see people who are successful, see people who look to be lucky,
Right.
and just resent them.
Yeah.
But you have to avoid comparison.
Yep.
Comparison is one of the biggest thieves of happiness that you could ever have, and there's always going to be somebody who's got more than you.
Yep.
And there's always going to be somebody who has less than you.
It's never ending.
No, it's a never-ending cycle. And so, like, if we find ourselves, like, the point is not to look at other people who are doing worse than us to make ourselves feel better.
Yep.
And then, conversely, the point is not to look down on other people who are doing, or excuse me, conversely, would be looking up at people who are doing better than us to humble us. The point is, comparison is just pointless.
Yep. I made a video the other day. I was in my field, so I'm like, I'll make a video, put this out there. But I started off with like, this isn't a popular topic, but you're gonna die one day, and when you die, I'm not gonna care what you think of me. I'm not gonna say, man, I really wish I earned this person's approval more. It's like, no,
That's
like,
good.
You're not gonna care about me.
Nope.
Well, you'd be sad I died, hopefully, but like, it's not gonna matter in the grand scheme of things. So once we come to a point in our lives where like we don't hear what I'm not saying. Don't say like we don't care what people think.
Right.
Of course, we need to seek wise counsel and live up to that. But it does, like we need to stop chasing. It's because it's
Other
never
people's
ending.
approval.
There's always going to be another person that we're worried about. So when you stop thinking about that, man, life gets so much more freeing and easier.
We have to ask ourselves, like, are the decisions that we're making fueled by the approval of other people?
Mm-hmm.
Like, or is it because if so, that's just a vain pursuit.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have everybody like you. And if you have everybody that likes you, that means you're not standing for something anyway.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a few enemies. You're going to have a few people that don't like you. Worry less about what other people think because they don't think about you that much anyway.
They really don't. When you if you achieve more than them or you hit a success milestone that's further along than them, guess what? They're not at the finish line saying, you did it, you beat me.
That's right.
Thank you. So like, no,
Yeah,
that doesn't
it's a
happen.
vain pursuit. It's not going to hit. And it's so dangerous too in real estate, in any type of business. Like you compare your business, you compare your life to somebody else's. We already talked about this in the dangers of social media, that you're comparing highlight reels to your behind the scenes, but you're probably comparing your first or second chapter to somebody else, like the end of their book.
Yeah.
And so you have to be really careful with comparison. If you really want to be happy, you got to fight to stay away from comparison.
Yep.
So the next one too, this is something else that you have to fight for. And it's something that I think that the older I've gotten, the harder it is for me to do. And it's just to be kind. And I know that's silly, but like, I remember when I was younger in high school specifically, like, man, I would talk to strangers like nobody's business. And I was kinder. And I think in my old age, I've gotten more like
boomer.
Yeah. As a boomer, no, I've just gotten more, I don't know, almost maybe more self-absorbed, maybe just more tired, maybe just more frustrated.
Tired is a good word.
Yeah, and I'm less kind in some cases. And part of it too is probably busyness, that I don't have the time to just stop and talk to a stranger or do those different things. But it takes strength to be kind. It takes a decision to be kind.
Yeah.
And so the converse of this and the way to be happy was to don't say hello first.
Yeah.
To take the initiative and say hello first. Take a genuine interest in other people. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Really be interested in other people and be kind. That's a way that you're happy instead of being miserable. When you're just looking to be mean and rude and not say hello first and all those different things, it's It takes strength to be kind.
Yeah, this has been funny enough, we said this, like this past couple weeks, that's been like a reoccurring thing I've been telling the team when like something arises and someone's upset. I like to lead in talking about not taking things too seriously. I always say, well, you should kill them. And they're like, what? It's like, with kindness. You know?
Nice.
So just, again, everyone's always looking for somebody else to blame or to be mad at. And a lot of people come to us during transactions, and it's like, at the end of the day, we just need to be kind, admit if we did something wrong, or, at the end of the day, someone can't be mad at you for being kind.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It's a big one. So,
yeah.
Moving along, number 9, do what you say you're going to do.
It's big.
Do what you say you're going to do, even if things are not going well, right? Things are not always going to go well.
Right.
You can lay your head down on the pillow at night with a clear conscience, knowing you did everything that you said you were going to do. It's clutch. Integrity is more important than talent.
Yeah.
So I had someone send me a referral the other. They said they were going to send me something, and they hadn't sent it just yet. And the next day, like, I'm so sorry I didn't send it. I was like, it's okay. He's like, no. I said I was going to do it. I was like, whoa, bro, calm down.
Yeah.
First of all, cool.
There's a level. Yeah,
I like
relax.
that. But yeah, I could tell he took it really seriously.
Yeah,
He was like, no, I said I was going to
cool.
do it. I apologize. I did not do it.
Yeah.
But what we say yes to is important.
Mm-hmm.
But even more important is what we say no to.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So we say no to things that are not important so that we can fulfill our commitments to what we say yes to.
Right. Right.
So
That's kind of how we maintain that integrity.
Yeah.
Like have to, I think I've done that before, is just say yes to everything because I want to people please and I want to do all these different things. But what ends up happening is then I'm unreliable because I can't do everything if you overcommit.
yeah.
And so saying no is important to some things so that you can continue to fulfill your yeses.
And I would argue people respect you more if you say no and say,
100%.
look, I don't want to overcommit and overpromise, so I'm not able to do that. I feel like people respect you more for that rather than saying yes and just dropping the ball.
And one thing, it's a tough pill to swallow, but people make time for what's most important to them.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of prioritize your importance of your different things in your life so you know what to say yes to and what to say no to.
Yep.
But what you commit to, do what you say you're going to do. There's nothing, man, that's more a pet peeve than mine than just like, no, you said you were going to do it. Do it.
It's doing things with excellence, man.
That's
Just
right.
saying-
Maybe that's where I need to be more kind, but
There you go.
You know.
Yeah, be nicer.
I know.
Kill them.
With kindness.
Kindness.
That's right.
The pause is very important.
Yeah,
there.
it's big.
Kill them, and then you wait
For
the
dramatic
reaction.
effect.
Exactly.
It's really
You're like,
good.
Wait, what?
Really good.
But yeah, so that is our 9 points of ways to be happy. I know
Yeah.
you saw the title and you say ways to be unhappy, but we can't control everything that happens to us. I know we try to control it as much as we can. We build systems and processes and leverage and people around us that we trust. But at the end of the day, people are people. They're going to hurt us. Systems can fail.
Right.
There's kinks come in. So we can't control all of that. And we're not always going to be happy
Right.
with the outcome. And I know we talked about the difference in happiness and joy. We're not getting into the joy, but
Yeah.
these are some practical things you can do to be happy when those things go wrong.
Right.
Whenever a kink comes up and you're like, this is going to be a great day, boom, you're hit in the face with something.
Yeah.
What are some of these things you can do practically? to help,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, and that's what we always like to leave you with a little challenge. And I think that would be the challenge for all of us
Yep.
is like, what can we implement in our lives practically to be happier, right? Like I find myself and I'm going through this, I'm like, you know what? I really do need to focus on being more kind and how that can actually affect my happiness and whatnot. And so we want to ask you the same thing. What do you think out of this can you implement in your life that you think would lead to some more happiness, some more smiles, some more joy, that kind of deal.
Yep.
So
Love it. Well, we thank you so much for joining us again. We'd love for you to subscribe to the YouTube.
yes.
It would mean a lot to us. If you want to be happy, follow these things. If you want to be unhappy,
Don't.
just do
It's
the
a
opposite.
recipe for both.
Yeah, we're giving you the option. Choose what you want.
That's right. There you go.
But either way, thanks so much for joining us. We're excited for next episode. Leave us some feedback, what you want to hear. But either way, we loved hanging out with you today.